The next thing we're going to listen to is Doug Kelsey, and he's going to talk about the rule violations. And Doug Kelsey, as you know, is the man who came down from Canada after he was embroiled in a salary scandal at BC Transit. Yeah. There's a whole scandal up there about them making money off transit, and there's no lie. Look it up if you want. Anyway, he comes down to Portland, and he knows this guy at the NTSB, or he used to be at the NTSB, and for some reason Kelsey decides that he needs to have this guy do an analysis. Guy comes back with the analysis, and what the findings were that apparently since 1986 to present, which is 86, 96, 31 years, they've been operating MAX wrong. Is that what it is, 86, 96? I can't, I'm brain dead. But anyway, they say they've been doing it wrong, and they're going to change all the procedures. And honestly, I listen to this stuff. All I can tell you is it sounds like everybody knows what they're doing to me. I have no way to compare this operation to another one. I'd love to find another feed like this so I can compare. But everything I can see from Trimet control is everybody knows what they're doing. The train operators, the controllers, and the supervisors. I've never really seen any example of wrong communications in terms of they said something they shouldn't have said and something went wrong. I've never seen that. So it was odd to me when I first heard his first presentation after this that they've been lazy and not documenting, and somehow I don't know. I don't buy it. Just because he comes in and gets this guy to make a report, where's the other point of view? I mean, whenever you have a report, you really should have two separate reports, because how do you know? One of them has to be non-aligned. You can't pay somebody's paycheck and expect some kind of a impartial decision. Now, I don't know. Let's listen to what he has to say about it all. I never noticed any problems in the MAX. I don't know anything about MAX, but, if you listen to this stuff as long as I have, you're going to understand the flow of the conversation. It's like a language, you use it, you understand. I've never seen any problem. I would imagine that I've heard that people are sent to Portland to learn about the light rail operation, and it would make sense because it seems tight to me. So let's hear what he has to say about it.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Mr. Warner, President Warner, members of the board. I divide my comments into
I mean, when you look at Kelsey, look at how precise he's dressed. It's all precision dress. There's not a hair out of place. He looks good, man. He looks good, and he talks good too. So, but I like the way he looks. Okay, that's the most polished figure I've ever seen in my 20 years.
Two sections. The first one, which I think you have in front of you, and for members of the audience, it's on the back screen behind you. There's a few charts. Just to update you, as I've indicated, since last December, reported to you about the safety audit, the rail violations one, and one of the previous speakers, Anthony Forrester, commented on that as well. As the general managers commented on also, that there's a significant amount of work underway on this really, really important issue. And it's not just, I'd say, following the rules. There's actually a cultural issue here that we're trying to evolve our organization and really help support really good operators out there. We have a lot of new operators, as Mr. Forrester's commented out there, and we need to support them in new and varied ways, including, as the general managers noted, that with increased trainers specifically out there. It's a challenging job, particularly on the rail side, when you look at 5 different types of vehicles, 5 different lines.
See, he's talking about this as there's some kind of huge problem. I don't think Trimet MAX light rail fatalities or injuries are out of any line with the industry. I don't know what they are offhand, but I remember reading something at some point. You see so much material you can't remember. I don't think Trimet has any statistics that are higher than other light rail systems within the industry, and so that's why something doesn't click right here, because he's saying there's all kinds of major problems, but there isn't.
2 different totally significant departure locations, And through our training program, historically, you go through the the 10, 12-week training program, and then an operator goes out there to conquer and follow the rules of the law of running a railway. A real challenging job. We have everybody has a role in this, and we again welcome Mr. Forrester to help us through this, because it's going to take everybody to deal with this issue.
I was looking at the pay scales for the light rail, and they're bad. I mean, a light rail controller makes less than some of the managers, and Mary Fitz, for example, makes more, like I think it was $50,000 a year more than a light rail controller, and that's incredible. I mean, they're way underpaid. Those positions should all be six-figure positions, I think. Don't you think so? I mean, that's a special skill set you have to have for that. But there's, this is the management union. They're going to depress your wages because neoliberalism defines your value only in terms of the market, and they're holding that market down artificially. These public transportation people are not allowing that market to go up. They're pushing it down, and they have the power to do that because they're all unaccountable. But the point I was making, they're all underpaid. The light rail operators, the light rail supervisors, the light rail controllers those should all be $10 an hour more than what they're getting from what I would think compared to what other things are going on at Trimet.
Not only on the tactical, following the rules, the engineering team, planning, scheduling, there's room for everybody in this very complex issue of change. What you have in front of you is, I'm just going to grab the, I have a couple charts to show with you just to give you an update. And again, as I committed to, we'll come back each month for the first 6 months here to give you a progress update, and quarterly thereafter. So a couple points I would refer to you on is, if you look at the end of the recommendations, there was 42 recommendations. 2 of them are now complete. We are targeting about a completion rate of about 8% for this point in time. That may vary each month, depending on each one have different cycles of, it's not just divided by 6 months. So we're ahead of schedule slightly. And the 0 to 6 month range, as you look up here, showing 8%. 7 to 12 month, there's a bunch of work unbundled, not only just dealing with the first 6 months, we're dealing with this on many, many fronts, because some are very long in nature. They're going to take, as you can see up here, multiple years to deal with.
Do you know what he's talking about? Because I sure don't know what he's talking about. There's 40 recommendations, and they want to implement all 40, and there's some kind of a timeline for implementing them. This is all very nebulous. Notice how there's no specifics here.
So again, complex issue. We're trying to take it on a number of fronts. But progress today is we're hitting our targets. Interesting chart I wanted to share with you. The second and last chart here is if you look at some key areas, what are some of the key drivers of these violations? So you can see over on the bottom of the axis of the chart, October through January, how we're actually doing. And so you can see the report coming out in October, November. December was...
Okay, he's looking at rule violations, I believe. Those are the rule violations chart. So that's what it is, apparently. Now, there's too many rule violations at Trimet. I mean, although it hasn't produced any actual results to the negative, there's too many rule violations, and he's going to do something about it, I guess. It's bureaucrats, man. Bureaucrats got to be bureaucrats.
Slightly less in closing out the bar chart you have in front of you, which comprises doors off the platform violations, where we've opened the doors on the wrong side or inappropriately, signal trips, where we've maybe actually gone through the signal before we've actually been given permission to go through the signal. That does not mean it's unsafe. I think what's really important here is we're running a safe railway, but you may have a train, for example, that's several minutes already in that block, if you will. The other train entering that signal may be nowhere close to it, but did it cross the line? The answer might be yes. So again, no imminent danger, but these are here for a reason.
You see, he says no imminent danger, but at any second, it could be September 11th again at Trimet. That'd be like a Sandy Day incident. I mean, maybe he's right. I guess one guy, no at control. concurs with him. So I do know one person that thinks Kelsey's right, who's inside that organization.
To protect ourselves from combinations of things where something could potentially, but unlikely, go seriously wrong. You also see speed trips where we have a very mechanized system. Some properties are manual reporting by the individuals. So, i.e. on the Orange line, we have signal trips that if it goes over certain speeds, it reports back into our control center, etc. What is interesting, I think, if we look at the chart, and I'm just using a bar here, 320. So we've had, back in October, about 320 investigations that were outstanding for the organization.
Okay, now I'm understanding. It's taken me a while because I'm not smart. But I see what's happened here. So there's 320 violations that haven't been closed. So that is pretty funny, actually. So they just kind of, what did they do with it? Did they just put it underneath the file and say, okay, and just left it there? They didn't investigate them, I guess.
At that point in time. This is an area we're spending significant efforts on to really work hard and close them off and deal with whatever needs to happen based on each incident on an individual basis. But as you can see, from 320, we've actually been able to bring this down to about 160 investigations, basically cutting it in half over the last several months. So there's been a significant effort on behalf of the teams out there in the transportation area. So this is an area we're not finished. We have a lot more to do, but this is part of us truing up and getting closer to the time of the issue and our response to it. So with that, be happy to answer any questions on this piece around the safety audit, and if not, then I'll...
Okay, I guess that's the end of part one. I cut it off, which is good because it's enough. So part two, I'll get to it eventually.